My name is Charlie Bristol. I'm an environmental engineer. I worked as an environmental consultant for over 30 years now. But in the last 5 years, I've worked for myself, and I spent a lot more time working with a lot of nonprofit organizations in Southeast Michigan. Specifically, I'm on the board of the Friends of Detroit River, Friends of Belle Isle Aquarium, Friends of Belle Isle, Friends of the Rouge. So I've got a lot of friends that are very, very interested in what's happening with the environment, especially with the Detroit River. As an environmental engineer, I've seen a lot of changes to what's being put in the river, both from non-point sources and from point sources. But we still have a ways to go with respect to our non-point sources, at least in the city of Detroit and along the Detroit River. There's a lot of property that is now being recycled into a much more environmentally focused use, whether it's for shops and hotels and things like that, instead of a manufacturing place. But that property has still got its legacy issues. I mean, we've got Friends of Detroit River. We have a small grant from the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality, where our river keeper, we're part of the Water Keeper Alliance. Our river keeper will be out, in addition to taking pictures of issues, we're actually going to be taking grab samples, so that when we send pictures to the state and to EPA, we can also send some water quality data and say, look, it's not just, you know, dirty water.
You can give them numbers.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good tip for people out there for lots of different bodies of water.
The other thing that we're trying to do, which I think is a success, is the education. There are stream teams along the Detroit River and all the high schools. The kids are really aware of what the problems are, of what they should do and should not do. But then again, they're not looking for a job right now and worrying about paying their mortgage
and their taxes.
So, so they can focus on those kinds of things. The technology, as you heard, I don't know if you heard earlier, the technology's there. We know the technology's there. I firmly believe that the technology, if applied, create jobs, create lots of jobs in the environmental business. You'd be having people working, but they'd be working to be helping clean up things.
Instead of polluting more.
Right, instead of just doing nothing, you know, sitting back on retirement. We're starting to see some of that in Southeast Michigan. The only thing I'd like to point out also is that you give Mother Nature enough time, she'll take care of herself. And by stopping what we put in the 50s and 60s and 70s, we've been seeing, you know, great improvements in the 80s and 90s because we just stopped polluting. So now it's time to go back and make decisions, start to deal with some of those legacy issues. Legacy both on the land, which are still seeping in. It is amazing what you see along the river after a major rainstorm in Southeast Michigan. And also to continue with improving what's being put in. One of the things that Friends of Detroit River and Friends of the Rouge are working on also is we're working with the USGS on fish habitat. The Detroit River used to be the sturgeon capital of the world, pulling out 6, 8, 12, 15-foot sturgeons back in the day. So USGS is identifying where sturgeon habitat can be created again. However, we've got combined sewer overflows that are being treated properly, but unfortunately, the residual chlorine from treating the combined sewer overflows is having an adverse effect on the fish flow.
Look at the big picture. You can't just fix one thing.
Exactly. We can't just fix one thing. We've got to have everybody at the table. You've got to have the fishing people at the table with the water quality people, with the development. And that's one of the other things that we do quite a bit is we try to stay involved with a group called the Detroit Riverfront Conservancy. They're doing some fantastic work along the river to do what we call less structured shorelines and also to develop the properties along the river. And various groups attend those meetings to put our hands up and say, well, why just 6 feet of pathway? Why not 12 feet of pathway? Why not, 20 feet of buffer zone? So we're there constantly. What I call it, I'm a PIA, You may not be able to use that phrase because it stands for pain in the ass, but some people need to be there, and that's one of the things that I do quite a bit of is go to be the PIA at these groups. So that's what I do.
Well, great. Thanks for talking to me.
Not a problem.
I'm wondering if folks in Southeast Michigan are interested in participating in the work you guys are doing. Is there a place on the web or?
Yep, there's www.detroitriver.org is the main website. In fact, I maintain the website in addition to other things. And we have links to a lot of the other groups, from the Rouge, from Clinton to Detroit environmental justice groups, etc. So if you have to remember one, remember DetroitRiver.org, and you can find your way to other groups in Southeast Michigan.
Great.